guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to part 2 of the tutorial for my DIY pallet corner sofa. So in part 1 I talked about how we made the base for our corner sofa. If you haven't watched that video, please go ahead and click on the card that should appear at the top right of the screen right now. I'll also link to it in the description bar below. And in this video I'm going to show you how I made the cushions for the corner sofa. So I'll show you how I made all of these lovely cushions with the beautiful fabric in this tutorial. I also have a full write-up on how I actually created this pallet corner sofa on my blog www.tollyfrimpong.com. I'll link to it in the description bar below as well, so that you can get a full breakdown on all the materials that I use to make this corner sofa, and you can get a detailed breakdown and explanation word for word as to how I put this all together. So before getting into this tutorial, I'm going to need you to do something for me. Please give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet, and also hit the notification bell so that you know every single time I upload another video. And without further ado, I'm going to get into this tutorial for you right now. Okay, so you're going to need quite a few different materials for this project. I'm going to run through the list of items that you'll need now. I'll then go on to explain what you'll be using the items for throughout the course of this tutorial. But just to begin with, you're going to need the following. You're going to need MDF wood at least 6mm thick. I used MDF wood that was 3mm thick for this project, and in hindsight I definitely would have used a thicker MDF. I'll explain why later on in this tutorial. The MDF in which you will need will be cut down to the sizes of the seat and the backrest for the pallet corner sofa. So you want to measure up the bases of all the corner sofas and the backrest, and that's the size in which you'll then want to cut your MDF wood pieces down to. So you'll need MDF of those varying sizes. We purchased our MDF wood from Selco. We gave the measurements to the guy that works there, and he was able to cut it down to size for us. They only allow you to do a maximum of 3 cuts per sheet of MDF, so you just want to be careful with that in terms of the measurements that you give to them, because they can't really do too much cutting for you. But obviously if you have the tools to cut down the long sheets of MDF at home, then you want to just buy the long sheet and then cut it to size yourself. You'll need a staple gun with staples, but this staple gun needs to be a heavy duty staple gun in order for it to be strong enough to go through the MDF wood. So you'll need a strong staple gun and loads of staples. You'll need cushion filling, lots of cushion filling, and also lots of wadding. I'll give you a breakdown later on in the video of how much of the wadding and cushion filling that I use, so that you can get an idea of how much you might need to use depending on the size of the corner sofa in which you decide to make. You're of course going to need a lot of fabric in order to create these cushions. You'll also need scissors, which you're going to be using obviously to cut the fabric. So those are the items in which you'll need for this tutorial. Okay, so once you've cut down all the MDF pieces to the sizes that you need for each pallet and backrest, the next thing you need to do is proceed to actually making each seat cover. The first thing you want to do is lay out the fabric on the floor. The fabric that I used was African fabric that I've had in my house for years and years, and I finally found something that I can actually do with it. But you can use any fabric that you wish, so long as it's obviously big enough to go around the MDF. It needs to be wider and longer than the piece of wood in which you're using as the base for the sofa, otherwise you won't be able to tuck the fabric around to the bottom underneath the wood. Okay, so first thing you want to do is place your MDF on the fabric and cut around it, leaving at least 2 to 3 inches of extra fabric around all 4 sides of the MDF. You'll need that 2 to 3 inches in order to be able to tuck the fabric over the MDF later on in the process. So once you've cut down the fabric, you can now remove the MDF piece of wood and then grab the wadding. Once you grab the wadding, take the wadding and place it on top of the fabric, and you need to cut down the wadding to the size of the fabric. Now the wadding that I had wasn't as thick as the fabric, so I had to do it in 2 stages. So I had 2 sheets of wadding on each cushion as opposed to just having one big massive piece of wadding, but it's fine, you couldn't notice in the end product anyway. The purpose of adding the wadding between the cushion filling and the fabric is it makes it more smoother and gives it more of an even finish, which you'll see later on in the tutorial when I flip over the cushion. So this was the fun part of the tutorial, and I really enjoyed this part. I don't know why I enjoyed it. I find it so therapeutic actually, adding all the cushion filling to the sofa. So at this stage, this is where you pour all the filling on top of the warden and try and give it as even a distribution as you can, so that it goes across the whole pallet and you don't have, for example, the left side being more thicker than the right side. Try and balance it out, distribute it evenly by like pulling the cotton apart and stretching it so that it goes across the whole surface area of the cushion. I used approximately 1 kilogram of cushion filling for each of the pallet seats, but if I was to do it again, I would use a lot more cushion filling to make it a lot thicker. So I would recommend you use 1.5 to 2 kilograms of cushion filling for each of the sofa pallets to make it thicker, more padded and a lot more comfortable. I mean, my one is comfortable enough, but I think it would be even more comfortable if it was a thicker seat. For the backrest, I used about 0.75 kilograms of cushion filling, but again, I'd recommend you use a lot more. I'd say use about 1.5 kgs of filling for the backrest for the same reason as I mentioned previously, just to make it a lot more comfortable, a lot more thicker. Once you're comfortable with the distribution of the cushion filling across the fabric and wadding, the next thing you need to do is bring back that piece of MDF and place it on top of the cushion filling. Begin to fold the fabric and the wadding over the MDF and then staple along each side, leaving about 2 inches gap between each staple, or just as many as you think necessary to make sure it's secure and that the cushion filling doesn't start to come out. Once you've stapled 3 of the 4 sides, put your hands inside the 4th side that's still open and just give all the cushion filling one last feel around and try and separate it more and evenly distribute it so that it gets to the sides as much as possible, so you don't have too much of a dome effect along the sides and you have enough cushion filling around the edges. happy with the distribution, go ahead and staple down that fourth side, and then that will be it. Flip over your cushion and admire your results. So my heart actually sunk at this stage when I realized that I had actually used the wrong side of the fabric and the sticker was showing, and that sticker is a nightmare to remove from the fabric. So just make sure you don't make that mistake that I make if you have similar fabric that has a sticker or any kind of label on it. Make sure you put the label on the inside so that the wadding is on top of it instead of facing the floor, because you end up having the result that I have. So you want to go ahead and repeat this process for all of your seat covers and all of your backrests, and then that will be it. At the end of the project, I had so much cushion filling left that I decided to use the cushion filling to fill up the cushion covers that I had bought for the sofa. So this is just some footage of me filling up the cushion covers with some of the cushion filling that I had. Obviously, the ideal situation, it would be better if I had the actual inserts, so that I filled up the inserts before putting them in the cushion, because this is going to be a nightmare when it comes time to cleaning them or changing them. But I was just being lazy and I didn't want to order more things online, so I just worked with what I had left. So that's literally it for this tutorial, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you stayed to the end of the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel, comment in the comment section below, let me know what you thought of this video, and if there's any other tutorials that you would like to see from this channel, do let me know and I'll see if I can make them happen. But that's literally it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on my next video. Take care, bye.